would call this an alley, but this is not an alley, is it?
Laneway, we call them in Toronto, we call them Laneway.
Laneway, which happens to be your company name, as a matter of fact, right?
You got it, Laneway Custom Builds.
So Joel builds these really cool laneway houses or alleyway houses. Tiny house, tiny lot, a lot of constrictions and restrictions here in Toronto up in Canada. Today's build show all about Laneway Custom Builds and all the challenges they face on these laneway houses. Let's get going. All right, Joel, talk to me about these laneway houses, because around me I'm seeing kind of one-story garages, but you got what appears to be like a two-story house back here.
Yeah, recently the city of Toronto updated their bylaws, and so they're allowing people to build, a home behind their home. It's an accessory dwelling unit. When they're in a laneway, we call them a laneway house.
Okay.
But they've actually opened it right up to even people who don't have laneways. They can build what they would call a garden suite.
Okay.
But they're trying to combat the lack of housing and trying to gently increase the density of the city, and while still keeping that neighborhood vibe. So one of the ways they found to do that was to start allowing laneway housing.
Got it.
You can't sever your property. So the person who will be living in this house will maybe be a tenant from the people who own the main house, or it might be a situation where we have multi-generational living, where the grandparents are living out back, or potentially like some older university-aged kids might be living out back as well.
But you can't sell it off as a separate property.
You can't sell it off, and I think that's part of maintaining that neighborhood vibe, and that, the way that they've allowed this bylaw to happen, it's something that happens as of right, so you don't need special permission. And so by taking that piece out of it, by not allowing people to sever the property, it just keeps things clean and keeps things simple.
Yeah, that's nice.
Also, all the servicing runs into and through the main house.
Gosh, let's walk
So
and see that.
yeah, so it's
so in other words, this still has an umbilical cord, so to speak, to the services, the sewer, the water, the electrical from the main house.
correct, yeah.
Got
And you can see the first sign of it right here. This is our exterior clean out, which is closest upstream to the laneway house. But this pipe's running underground all the way to in front of the main house.
Got it.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this is crazy, but I really like your job site fencing.
Thanks.
These are really nice. These look like prefabricated,
Yeah.
maybe 5 foot by 8 or 10 foot panels.
Yeah, 10 footers, and you can also get little
These
4
from these
footers.
guys?
We started by renting them, and we've since purchased some.
Okay.
So we have about 12 frames now, and all the little feet and stuff that go with them. But
Handy.
yeah, we're on all the sites are fairly small, and we only usually need about 4 sections of fence to cover off the end. So it was just made more economic sense to pick them up. And
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so
Yeah,
the main house is in not so great a shape. Unfortunately, that's not in your project scope, is it?
no, unfortunately not. But it's ripe for somebody to redo one day.
Someday.
Yeah, it definitely needs some work.
And what's up with the platform back here? Are you guys building a deck over here?
No, we're gonna
What
have
is the scoop
we're
here?
gonna be doing a show. This is our stage, and we're
That's
gonna
what it
do a little
looks like.
bluegrass festival back here. No, the city of Toronto is actually very forward in their methods for dealing with city trees, and so they're always wanting us to protect the tree from the construction. In this situation, our tree protection zone actually should have been this big. It's usually determined by the drip line of the tree. But they do make special concessions. You can get an arborist report, and they will recommend that you can do some horizontal tree protection zone, which allows you a little bit more working room.
Oh, that's nice.
So we had to build this little retaining wall out of 4x4s, and then we actually filled it with mulch.
So underneath the plywood is just plain old mulch.
Plain old mulch, and we actually were able to get it for free from a local tree removal guy. You just called him up and you got any extra mulch, and they're looking for places to get rid of it. So he came here and dumped it all off for us, and we filled it up and did the plywood stage. We actually have 2 layers of plywood, as specified. It's all specified by the arborist.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing you got a tree protection zone sign. That's probably a requirement. as
Requirement on all sides.
well.
Yeah.
I kind of like
yeah.
how you got your porta potty, you got a hand washing station.
Yeah.
I suspect you got nails or tools.
We've actually got our temporary site power here.
Oh, site power. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Oh,
And because this happens on all of our projects where we need power to build the house, and so we just have this long cord and this site power, which we can move from site to site.
super
And
smart. You just took a 200 amp panel,
Yeah.
Ran your temp power in there, ran some 220 lines.
Yeah.
Ran a bunch of 110 circuits, and then put a little roof on it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's really smart, Joel. Very cool. And then you got some tools.
Yeah, some fasteners and stuff. Yeah, fasteners and.
Pretty cool. So tour me through the house. It looks like some similar building materials that I'm used to seeing. Zip system, is this pretty common up in Toronto now, zip system sheeting?
It is, great. Yeah. A lot of the builders are starting to carry it, and it's a great option.
Looks like some liquid flash.
Liquid flash along the bottom onto the grade beam. So here, this may look to you like a foundation, but it is a foundation, but it's not your typical foundation. It's only about from here about 36 inches down, so we're not down past the frost line.
Oh, really?
What we've used here is we've used ground screws, and they're about 7 foot long. They're a little bit like a helical pile, but they're different. The helical part is a little different. It's more of a corkscrew.
Yeah, corkscrew.
And
cork almost.
yeah. And so we put those, I guess, around 3 feet apart. They're drilled in with an excavator. And then we formed and poured a beam on top of those screws. So the screws are holding all the weight. And that's a trick that's sort of gaining steam in Toronto for these laneway homes, because it's a way to do your foundation and to not have to dig and have to shore right beside your neighbor's property.
Oh yeah, because these are zero lot line on one side.
Yeah.
The other side maybe.
Yeah.
So you don't have the ability to over excavate by 3 feet, let's say.
No.
And dig a big foundation.
No, exactly.
You gotta
And
be right on that lot line.
it's correct.
That's
yeah.
tough, man. That's some tough conditions to work in.
For sure, for sure.
And then this looks like liquid flash right here.
Yeah, we got some liquid flash on there, and another thing we actually did was we sort of used the framing as a diaphragm and caulked all of our openings. So you can see behind this sheet you would see a bead of caulking as well.
Cool.
Back there, coming
awesome.
up the door, across this door down.
Hooking out
And
right there.
yeah, and so around every window, on our corners, on the bottom and on the top, we've put the caulking behind as well.
Killer.
It's kind of creating like a diaphragm on the wall.
An air barrier.
Yeah.
And then is there something going on the outside of the zip as well before your siding, or what are you doing here?
Yeah, continuous insulation, we call it up here. I don't know if it's the same down in the US, but we've got our outboard insulation, which is going on. We're using mineral wool.
So 3 inches of rock wool on the outside.
3 inches, yeah.
And then what's your cladding on top of that?
It's going to be a sheet metal siding. So we'll be doing the, like a strapping and then a sheet metal siding.
I feel like a lot of Canadians have metal exteriors. I like that.
Yeah, it is. And the price point's good.
Yeah. And it lasts
Durability.
a long time.
Yeah,
It's
durability.
100% recyclable when you're all done.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of cool.
One thing that with all the continuous insulation on the outside and trying to hang our rain screen, we often on some projects find that one detail that gets overlooked is the screws that are fastening the strapping to the structure of the house, because we've got 3 inches of insulation and a piece of wood strapping, and there's that huge space where that screw has to span through. Yeah, so oftentimes we find that the architects or the designers, that's not a detail that they might not have on their radar or at an early enough stage. Luckily with this designer, they're thinking about those kind of things, because really you think about the weight of the siding hanging on all those screws.
A lot.
Yeah, so for here we have 6-inch structural screws specified to go through the insulation.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. 2x6 framing, just like we see all over the country.
Yep.
I'm assuming this is temporary plastic so your windows go.
Yeah, exactly. Keep the rain out.
You're
and
dealing with lead times like we are, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's since 2020, we've been employing this plastic window.
How long does it take you to get windows these days?
It's just about 22 weeks on this one, yeah.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, the patio door, surprisingly, was only 7 weeks. So they've been holding it. They've been holding it for us until the windows are ready.
Got it.
Yeah, but
now, what's the curtain I'm seeing all kind of held up here? What am I looking at?
So the common, I guess, term for that on the job site would be called like a header wrap, and that's where you have your the exterior building paper or the building wrap. Yeah. In this case, we've got the zip sheathing, but oftentimes you'll have like a product like Tyvek or a Siga My Vest or something like that on the outside. So we're trying to make it continuous through our second floor. And so in this case, we're bringing the vapor, inside vapor barrier in between the top and in between the two top plates, up outside the rim board, and then back onto the subfloor under the top plate from upstairs.
Gotcha.
and just keeps everything continuous.
And you guys need a vapor barrier in this climate because it's pretty dang cold out sometimes.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that no air and vapor is getting into this cavity and finding a cold condensing surface.
For sure.
Now with exterior insulation, that's not as important, right? Or no?
Yeah, you're right. Is the dew points moved out, right?
Yeah.
So less important. We're using a smart vapor barrier here too, so that's going to allow the moisture to move, both ways. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really smart. I like it. What's the plastic I'm seeing down here?
That's our vapor barrier under the slab. You might recognize the green from a proprietary.
Stego.
They make a nice product.
That's awesome.
And
10 or 15.
this is a 15.
It's thick.
Yeah, we were specified 10 on this project, but the availability of the 15 was there, so we just went with the 15. But
I like it.
Everything below the slab is all taped up, and then we have it lapping up so that we can overlap that with our interior vapor barrier.
Man, your guys are doing nice. You're framed this yourself.
Yeah,
right?
we framed it ourselves. Yeah.
How many guys work on your crew?
We've got five guys and one in the office.
And what different projects will you do on the job? You're framing, but are you also doing some concrete work? What else are you guys doing?
Yeah, we did all the formwork here as well.
Wow.
And we're,
Formwork, you said, but not concrete work.
Yeah, well, actually for here we had the grade beam, which we formed and poured ourselves, minimal finish work. But for the slab, we brought a finisher in just to make sure it was all.
So you bring another crew in to pour it and finish it.
Yeah.
But you guys are framing it up because it's carpentry work.
Carpentry work, exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Some projects will do the siding as well. Just depends on availability and how the schedule is working.
And this house is like 20-ish by 20-ish. What's our dimensions here?
Yeah, it's 25 by 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just under 500 square feet.
Yeah.
For 2 stories.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to frame this thing?
What did we take? Three weeks?
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
Pretty fast.
Yeah. We're taking the time to do all these details as we go.
Yeah.
So we might be a little bit slower than the framing crew that'll slap it all up.
Right.
And I've had experience with those crews, and they're good, they're quick, but sometimes it's actually faster to hit some of these details as you go.
For sure.
And so we're finding some efficiency that way. We're a crew of carpenters anyway, so bringing the framing in-house, I think, has been a good move for us.
That's Joel's background too, right? So he, as the owner of the building company, has that carpentry background, which is really key to making sure these details get done. Talk to me about these trusses. I saw these once before on a job. What are these things called?
Open web truss. These particular ones are from a brand called Triforce.
I like
And yeah, they're great. You can trim them, so you don't have to order them specifically to your length. They give you some.
So in other words, this section here that's got a solid OSB web,
Yeah.
you could actually trim those in the field, right?
Exactly. You're allowed. They come with about a 3-foot long OSB web, and you're allowed to cut a maximum of 2 feet off, leaving about a foot left.
Okay,
Yeah.
so as long as you got a foot left, they're fine. You're meeting the specs.
Totally.
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
For this,
Interesting, there's no metal connectors on there either.
No,
They're like
yeah.
finger jointed and glued up in to the top plate and bottom plate.
yeah.
What do you think? You like them?
I do. I like them. They're a little bit more thought process to order them because regular wood-eye joists, the lumberyard has them. So but other than that, I mean, they're great. The trades so far have loved them and have been able to run everything inside the spaces. A bit of a learning curve with certain parts of it, but they're manual. They got like a 30-page manual, which is actually quite good.
Wow.
And so we were able to circumvent any little issues that might come up from not using the product before. Right. We were able to nip those in the bud by just reading the instructions.
Yeah, actually reading the instructions.
Yeah, actually reading the instructions.
Always good for builders to read the instructions.
Totally, even if it's a can of paint, right? Yeah.
And it looks to me like your sheet metal guys absolutely doing a fabulous job. I love seeing all this true sheet metal ductwork. We don't find that very often as I travel. That makes me wonder, do you guys have a fair amount of trades in this area? Are you guys hurting for trades? What's the kind of availability of the men and women who are doing HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing? What are some of the other trades I'm missing?
Yeah, we're hurting for sure. Yeah, especially more specialized trades like this tin bangers or plumbers, electricians, that kind of stuff. There are certain trades where you might find that a little bit less prior experience is required, right? So those trades might, in my experience, have a little bit less shortage.
Yeah.
But a lot of these more higher skilled trades, there's just a nightmare trying to find workers. these
Gotta
days.
Get more young people into the trades, that's for sure. It's interesting. That's true up here in Canada, just as it is down in Texas, as it is in Boston, everywhere.
Totally.
Let's go up. I'm curious to see what this looks like.
For sure.
Temp stairs or final stairs?
Temp stairs.
What do you guys do for final stairs here in Toronto?
Yeah, well, the guy was actually, who just showed up earlier when we were talking.
Really?
Yeah, so he's got them all measured up now that our subfloor and our floor heights are chosen. And that's just a simple set of stairs with, I believe they're like a red oak tread,
nice.
and then painted riser, painted stringer.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
like that. 8-foot ceiling height up here?
8 foot up here, 9 foot downstairs.
Are you limited to a certain total
Yes.
building height? I figured.
Total building height, I believe 6 meters. Yeah, 6 meters, which is around 20 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 foot tall.
And I'm noticing OSB on these sides of the building, but when I go over here, you got non-OSB.
Yes. So our zero lot line side. Yeah, so we're trying to achieve a certain number of minutes of fire protection rating here. And so that's part of getting to the minutes that we're wanting to achieve. So we've got the dense glass here. It's a 5/8 dense glass, and we had to
Single layer, double layer?
one layer. But we also have to put the 5/8 drywall, Type X drywall on the inside.
Gotcha.
So actually, that's why you might notice here we left this stud out, because we got to get that drywall right behind this stud, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
To make it continuous.
To make it
Your inspector's
continuous.
going to look for that probably.
Totally. And that's one of the obvious spots that if you miss that, it would kind of start to
follow
raise a few
So
questions.
this is up, you'll insulate that, you'll sheetrock it, and then you'll put that last stud in so that then you can connect this and that sheetrock's continuous.
Yeah, honestly, unless there was like a receptacle right here where the wire was coming through, that might be the only case, but otherwise, oftentimes this stud will just get put in by the drywaller, right? Because they can sheetrock this, slip the stud in for me, and then sheetrock these walls. Yeah, I borrowed this trick from steel stud construction. So in commercial steel stud construction, on any commercial job, they'll always leave their bottom and top plates short, and then they'll just leave the steel stud sitting here loose.
Oh, really?
And then the drywallers always finish it off. They'll put the drywall in, they'll take the steel stud, they'll slap it tight. Oh, nice grab.
Yeah, thank you.
And then finish it off for you. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then how about stud bay insulation? What are you doing in these studs or maybe in the ceiling here?
So we got mineral wool in all the walls, but it's a bit of a hybrid system because we're using spray foam in the roof here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get a really high R value on the roof. We're going for R54 with the spray foam.
Holy cow, that's up there.
Yeah. Well, with the all electrical build and with, the colder climate in Canada, we're really trying to keep that heat in. And so the air source heat pump that we have is going to heat and cool this whole house.
Oh, cool.
And to be honest, it's actually more than R54 because on top of that R54, we also have a tapered insulation package going on top of the roof deck.
What are you doing up there?
Up there, we're doing a mineral wool tapered insulation because this is a flat roof, right? So we've got 4 scuppers around the outside, and we just framed it as a flat deck. And one method would be to cut purlins, cut sloped cheese wedge type purlins, and slope your roof that way. But we find cost-wise, the insulation isn't much more because you save so much on labor of all the ripping and cutting of all these pieces. Yep. So we slope the roof with an insulation.
What are you using for that tapered?
So you can go with polyiso, which is sort of the more budget-friendly product. Yeah. And then we're using here a little bit of an upgrade would be the mineral wool tapered insulation. Yeah.
So something like maybe Rockwool's Top Rock.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah. Top
and
Rock
my guess is because you've got all that mineral wool on the outside plus on the top, that actually gives you some extra fire resistance too on a building like this.
For sure.
Plus a metal facade.
For sure.
Even more fire resistance.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like it. Talk to me about plumbing. What is this system?
We got our water lines there. So that's just a PEX crimp system. The plumber's putting that in. So here we've got the bathroom. Specifically here, that's going to be the shower. And yeah, it's just a rough in for the water lines. My guy specifically doesn't use the red and the blue, but he does mark the red. So this tape represents the hot pipe.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention it, but I'm assuming that metal angle that I'm seeing there has something to do with shear
yeah.
power, right?
Yeah, that's something that we sort of add in as an extra layer of strength. The dense glass sheathing is considered a structural panel. with the proper, fastening schedule. But, between you and me, it's still outdoor drywall, right? It's basically drywall on the outside of your house. So I don't trust it. I don't trust it. So we always put these in to any walls that have the
We would call that a lead-in brace. Is that what you guys call it too?
Exactly. Yeah, a lead-in brace, a wind brace. We would often call it that. And the old ones, obviously they would cut a huge chunk and put in the old 2x4s, right?
Looks to me like you curve cut it nicely in there.
Yeah, we curve cut it in, and little known.
Kudos to your carpenters.
Yeah, and do you know that you can just gun those on with your pass load?
Oh, that makes sense.
It'll shoot right through that metal. Just boom, right through the metal.
It's like 20 gauge sheet metal or something. It goes right through it. Yeah.
So you just use your regular framing, like regular nail gun that you're building the wall with. Just shoot it on.
And here's one here, and then here's the other one over here, and now it's giving it that racking strength.
Totally. And we got 2 downstairs.
So it's maybe not quite as high a value as your plywood, but it's way better than just drywall alone.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really smart. That's the benefit of having the business owner who's actually been on a framing crew and framed a lot of stuff. I don't have that experience, so I've had to learn that. I didn't learn it firsthand.
So this trick for me came from working up in Northern Ontario, where the continuous insulation or the thermal break thing caught on a little bit earlier than it has everywhere else because it's so much colder up there. So one of the builders I worked for when I worked up there would omit sheathing altogether, and there was no plywood sheathing. It was just studs with a foil-faced polyiso board, which is in Canada we call it like an energy shield is the brand, but it comes in different thicknesses. So we would literally be putting that polyiso foil-faced stuff right onto the studs, and this was the product that allowed us to do that. So definitely considered by engineers to have the same shear strength as a sheeted wall.
Yeah, that makes sense. Joel, when we were talking earlier, you mentioned something about warranties that a new construction builder has to give their clients.
Yeah.
Which is different than what I've heard about in America. Can you give us the basic understanding of that?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. And it's maybe not the reason why we try to incorporate a lot of these details. It's probably not the main reason, but it's definitely second place reason because we're offering a warranty on all these homes that we build, and so we're really wanting to hit a lot of these details to cover ourselves for the future. Yeah. So in Canada, we have this entity or this body called Terion, and they're a home warranty program. So they will provide you with a 2-year, or I'm the one providing the warranty, but they're my umbrella. Yeah, they're my backup.
Business.
Yeah. So as a part of a Terion warranty, you get 2 years on everything, and you get 7 years on structural.
Wow.
Yeah. So for new homes, a warranty is required, and it's something that isn't really policed very much. I think it's, well, if they started policing it, we would have a serious slowdown in construction because a large percentage of the people that are doing new construction don't have it. It originally came out more for subdivision builders, because you're building 30, 40 homes a year. You want there to be some type of warranty attached with all that. But really, the law is that if it's a new home, you have to have it. If it's a renovation, you don't. Laneway houses are considered new homes, and so I believe the intent is to give the client some peace of mind that they're building themselves a new home that's going to come with a warranty, but also to take advantage of the opportunity that, if we're going to be building all these new homes, let's try to build them in a way that's above code or above sort of the minimum acceptable way to do it. Yes. So the Terion organization really encourages better building practices and stuff like that.
You had to go to actually classes that you paid for, right? To get certified to be able to actually offer this warranty, right?
Yeah.
But you have to pay for it too.
Yeah, and there was numerous classes, a dozen of them, and exams, and it's a bit of an onerous process for somebody that's getting into this as a new builder. That's part of the reason a lot of people don't have it, to be honest. But it's ramping up. It's ramping up. Terion itself used to be the warranty company and the policing company. They used to do both. Now what they've done is they've split that. And so we have Terion as the warranty company, and we have a new entity now called the HCRA, which is the Home Construction Regulatory Authority. And it's coming. They literally just formed a board last year, and they're going to start policing builders now. So they have created a database, and if you go on there right now, you can find me as a builder, and you can see that I have no claims against me. If you do get claims put against you, they will be listed on there, and they will also be starting a list of contractors in Toronto that have been basically busted, basically blacklisted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so as a person who might be a prospective home purchaser or building a home, you can look up your contractor very easily and see if they.
Boy, this is a whole different deal than Texas. I got to say, coming to visit. I mean, we certainly have a lot of regulation in Austin, where I am, but the rest of Texas. I mean, a lot of times the only permit people are pulling is a septic permit, and there's places where you don't even need inspections. So I'm somewhere in between. You know, I see the benefit of it, but I also like the freedom of not. It's interesting to see what's going on up here. Any other interesting projects you got going on nearby?
We do actually. We have, luckily enough, we have 2 projects in the same neighborhood right now. So, and they're nicely offset. We've got this one, which is framed up, and we've got the trades in here doing rough-ins, and our other one, we're just doing the foundation on. So we'll be able to get them both going in sequence.
Oh man, let's go check out the other job. Hey Joel, before we walk over to that other site, I wanted to ask you. I like your kind of privacy screen here, and man, your signage is really on point. Has this been helpful for you for marketing or neighbor relations?
Both, to be honest, both. One thing is, especially a project like this, we're a dead-end laneway here, so we have all the residents trying to get in and out every day. So we try to, explain that we're doing our best. It's working in the laneways. We are in people's, we're in people's way, kind of as
all the time.
Yeah, and but we really try hard not to be. And a lot of the neighbors really do notice. You can tell a good contractor if they can use their neighbors as references as opposed to their own client. Yeah. And so when you have all the neighbors around you saying how good of a job you did, I think that's a good badge of honor.
That's a nice name.
Yeah, and we've got somebody who helped us with our branding who did a great job of our signage, and the renderings coming from the architecture firm they kind of make it easy to have a nice sign when you have a nice build.
They really do. Yeah. Solaris Architecture, is that who designed this building behind us?
Yeah, Solaris, they're great. The type of project that you can just execute, follow the prescription and not have too many questions. So yeah,
good stuff, man. Let's go walk over to that other one. Holy cow, Joel, you are not kidding about tight lot lines.
We're here doing it. This is Dale.
Dale, Matt.
Matt, nice to meet you.
So, how tight is this footer right here on your lot line? If I sight down the side of your house, that thing looks like it's pretty dang close.
It is pretty dang close. It is supposed to be 1 inch back from the property line.
Oh, Dale. That's not much room for error. I sure hope the survey crew got those pins right.
Well, they've been in several times, so they better have.
I suspect they have. So what's the deal here? I see this side, and I see your forms coming this way, but there doesn't seem to be anything on this side of the house.
That is true. So we obviously need permission from the neighbors to dig larger than the house.
Okay, to do an overdig, let's say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some of them will give you that permission and some might not. So in this case, we have to figure out a way of getting that side of the house in without stepping foot on any of the neighbor's property.
Holy cow, Dale, that's crazy.
Yeah,
How the heck do you build a house right up to the property line?
Well, it's been a challenge. But in this particular case, we're going to just dig 2 feet down along that side at first, pour essentially like the upper half of the foundation wall, and then we're going to underpin it before we frame the house.
Yeah, we're going to underpin new construction. Yeah.
Nothing like underpinning your brand new construction.
So,
but then also, you can't go in their house to frame or side or do anything else. So how do you do that?
That is also going to be a challenge. Definitely, we're going to have to build a large portion of this wall on the ground with siding and everything, and air tightness is going to be a challenge as well. But as far as I know, that's the plan. And we're talking to the engineers about some gasket details and a whole thing to be able to build that wall flat and then lift it up essentially fully completed.
Fully completed, like siding and everything? Is that right, Joel?
Yeah, that's actually a maneuver that we're sort of used to working in the laneways because working with these 0 lot lines. But in this particular scenario, That side of the house also happens to be the side of the house with the stairway. So a part of this wall, which we will be building on the ground and pre-cladding, a part of it will actually be a 2-story wall. So we've got a few ideas. You can see the constrictions don't really allow for crane, but we've actually got a harebrained idea to mortise some hinges into the plates and actually hinge the wall
And
up.
tilt it up.
Yeah.
Dang. Man, I gotta tell you guys, so fun to come visit you. It's interesting how I may be from a different country and in different states, and yet we all face some now, I don't face this challenge. These are hard challenges, don't get me wrong, but we all face similar challenges. There's something about builders that just connects us, isn't there? Dale, you rock, dude. It's so good to meet you, brother.
You too.
Joel, we appreciate it.
For sure.
Guys, if you're ever in Toronto, you're building a laneway house, you should be calling Laneway Custom Build. Super fun to come meet you guys. Really appreciate it. I'll put their Instagram feed below and, of course, their contact info. But if you're not currently a subscriber, guys, hit that subscribe button below. It's one of the things I love about this YouTube channel is I get to go visit like-minded builders doing awesome stuff all over the country and actually sometimes all over the world because we're not even in my country. That being said, follow me on TikTok or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.